couples through this time is the book, How the One of You Can Bring the Two of You Together. And also Divorce Remedy. That's another good one. But let's start first with, if your spouse will not go with you to coaching or counseling, the things that you can do. Number one is to check your thoughts around that. Are you thinking things like, oh, if they won't go, there's nothing I can do. I can't get them to go. If they don't go, our marriage will never work out. They'll never come back. They'd never even notice, if I'm making changes, or how would they know what's going on? Well, I want you to know, or to be attracted back to you. Well, I want you to know that checking your thoughts around that is really important. If you are thinking things like, oh boy, we are doomed if he won't go or she won't go. I can't make the changes without the other person. The marriage can't make the changes without the other person going with me. Why it makes no sense for only one person to go to counseling if there's two in a marriage. These are just some of the kind of limiting thoughts that oftentimes drive people from not changing themselves. And I will tell you, the opposite may be true. Oftentimes when a spouse sees you changing, they oftentimes are attracted back to that. Doesn't mean that they don't have to make some changes, but you want to get them re-engaged with you. You want them to see the changes that you're making, because we all need to change. And even if our spouse had addictions, all other kinds of things, and we don't even want them back, there are still limiting beliefs sometimes that we have in our mind that hold us back from moving on with our life and trusting again. So what are some of the things that you can do? Well, the first thing is to really think during the day and write down, what thought do I have most often about this separation? And and you should do this for probably a minimum of 3 days, because it'll take that long to see a theme. And once you get what that thought is, you'll see that there's a whole lot of thoughts that follow that thought. For example, if the thought is, marriage can't be saved if my partner won't go. Okay, if that's your major thought the first couple of days, then I want you to write that down. And then what feelings flow from that? For example, if you have that thought, you're probably going to feel helpless. You're going to feel maybe angry. You're going to feel incredibly sad because you don't see a future or hope for your marriage. So I want you to write down your main thought. But then also, over a 2-week span of time, I want you to write down all of your other thoughts that you have about the marriage. They could be simply, what do you mean change? I don't even know where to begin with that. How do I begin with change? I can't change. That's another very limiting belief that people often encounter as they're going through a separation. But I don't feel like changing. I don't think I should be the one that has to change. Again, these are more limiting beliefs. So I want you first to be aware of those. And then obviously, once you become aware of them, you'll see a theme. You'll see that having those thoughts lead you to feeling helpless, perhaps wanting to give up or staying stuck in anger. But what they will do is they will keep you stuck where you are. So once you become aware of them, I want you to think this. How true is that thought? Do I know that that is true? How have I tested it out? Am I willing to do research to see if that's true? And again, there's lots of books and lots of articles out there, and I'm telling you, and I've done the research, that it's very possible if one of you changes, there's going to be a shift in the system in some way. And whether or not your spouse comes back, it helps you tremendously to have an action plan. Number 2 is, once you become aware of that, of those thoughts, then of course you track how they make you feel. And then I want you to begin to think, who am I without this thought? If I didn't have the thought that it's going to take my husband or my wife to go with me to counseling for us to have any hope, if you let go of that thought, how does that change you? Okay? Because if it's a mistaken belief, and I believe that it is, then it'll really empower you to get the help that you need in an action plan for you, which, like I said, may very well help attract your spouse back to you. Now, of course, once your spouse comes back, it does not mean that, the party starts, right? What that does mean is that you can build on the changes you made. Your spouse will continue to see them, and you should continue in coaching or counseling so that you can keep those changes. And a good coach or therapist will prepare you for what I call pushback that you get. There's some familiarity in old ways, right? So even though your spouse may like the change that they see, they may still be stuck in that old pattern. But you can also, in individual counseling and coaching, learn how to deal with that. And eventually, your spouse may be willing to come in for a session or two, and may actually be enlightened by that, and might actually find that it's helpful. So changing your thoughts changes your emotions, to lead you to be more action oriented and to feel more powerful and less helpless. Certainly shows a growth mindset. It shows that you are oriented towards your own growth. So whether or not, like I said, your marriage gets back together, you're changing for the positive. A shift in that oftentimes does reattract your partner. And the next one would be that once you start to change, then you need to commit to that change. You need to take the steps, have that action plan that will propel you forward and get you out of being stuck right now. It's a really painful time. I totally get that. But it's made more painful sometimes by how we think. So I hope this video has been helpful. Please feel free to contact me for a free consultation at www.createclarityandchange.com. I'll be happy to speak with you. I give a free 30-45 minute phone consultation so I can see, and you can see actually, if we could be a fit for one another, and if I could help you with a strategy or action plan to propel you forward. Thanks.